Hi everyone. I'm Claire from Susan's family. Today I'll teach you how to knit a berry layered look sweater. For this electronic tutorial, you can search for susud.com on the website to access it. This sweater is made up of the back piece, the front piece, sleeves, collar and hem. Start by knitting the back piece upwards from the bottom, the front piece and sleeves. After joining them, continue by picking up stitches to knit the collar. Finally, knit and sew on the hem. First, let's learn how to knit the back piece. It is divided into two parts, the hem and the body. The hem uses an alternating cable cast-on method to cast on. This creates the K1 TBL 1x1 ribbing pattern. The fabric is worked back and forth. On the wrong side, you'll need to knit for the purl stitches and purl for the knit stitches. Please see the demonstration. First, cast on. For convenience, so you can see more clearly, I will demonstrate using cotton yarn. For specific yarn, color schemes, and needle sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Because the number of stitches is large, here we use a circular needle for knitting. Make a slip knit with the yarn tail. Leave the yarn tail a little longer, this will make it more convenient to weave in the ends later. Hold one end of the circular needle with your left hand. Insert into the loop. Slightly tighten. This is the first stitch. This stitch will be a knit stitch. Hold the other end of the circular needle with your right hand in a pencil grip. Then, wrap the yarn tail once around your right pinky finger. Gently pinch the yarn with your ring finger and middle finger. Place the yarn between your index finger and middle finger. This is the basic posture for knitting needles. Next, place the right needle below the yarn end. Insert from back to front into the loop on the left needle. Use your right index finger to bring the yarn over and pick it out. Place it on the left needle. Don't pull the yarn too tight, otherwise, it will be difficult to pick up stitches later. This is the second stitch. This stitch is a purl stitch. You can see that the yarn is above. Start with the knit stitch. Place the right needle above the yarn. From front to back. Insert through between these two loops. Pay attention, here is the middle of the two loops. Do not pass through the loop. Then yarn over. Pick up the yarn. Place it on the left needle. This is the third stitch. This stitch is a knit stitch. You can see that the yarn is below. Continue with the purl stitch. Place the right needle below the yarn. Insert into the needle. Yarn over. Pick out. This is the fourth stitch. Continue with the knit stitch. Place the right needle above the yarn. Insert into the needle. Yarn over and draw through. This is the fifth stitch. Work one more purl stitch. This is the sixth stitch. The starting stitch is worked as one knit stitch. One purl stitch. Alternate and continue knitting downward. Proceed with casting on following this method, until you reach the required number of stitches. Everyone, take a look. This is what it looks like after completing the cast on. In practice, there will be more stitches. Pay attention to prevent the loops from slipping off on both sides. Next, we'll start knitting the K1 TBL 1x1 ribbing pattern. Let's begin with the first row. The first stitch is the stitch key for the K1 TBL stitch. Knit the K1 TBL stitch. Insert the right needle from front to back through the back strand of the first loop on the left needle. Note that you insert through the loop, not between two loops. Yarn over and draw through a loop. At the same time, release the loop from the left needle. 1 K1 TBL stitch is now complete. The second stitch is the stitch key for a space, which indicates a purl stitch. Bring the yarn to the top of the right needle. Work 1 purl stitch. Then work the K1 TBL stitch. First, bring the yarn back down below the right needle. Work the K1 TBL stitch. The twisted braid below is the texture of the K1 TBL stitch. Then work 1 purl stitch. Don't forget to bring the yarn back up over the right needle. After completing, let's take a look. The purl stitch creates a tile-shaped texture. There's a strand of yarn lying across the top. This row consists of 1 K1 TBL stitch, alternated with 1 purl stitch. Every time you switch between K1 TBL and purl stitches, remember to yarn over, otherwise, you'll end up with extra stitches. Continue following this pattern, and finish this row. If the last loop ends up too large, you can slightly tighten the starting tail. Everyone, the first row is now complete. Let's move on to the second row. The chart for this row starts from left to right, because it shows the texture of the right side of the piece. In practice, you need to knit for the purl stitches, and purl for the knit stitches. Turn the fabric over. Hang the yarn with your right hand. The first stitch is the K1 TBL stitch key on the wrong side. That is, work the K1 TBL stitch purlwise. Place the right needle under the yarn tail, from back to front. Insert it into the back strand of the loop. Yarn over and draw through. At the same time, release the loop from the left needle. 1 K1 TBL stitch purlwise is now complete. The second stitch is the purl stitch key on the wrong side, that is, knit a stitch. Pay attention to picking the front strand of yarn for the knit stitch. Besides referring to the chart, you can also follow the texture of the fabric. If the next stitch is tile-shaped, work 1 K1 TBL purlwise. If it's braid-shaped, work 1 knit stitch. Continue following the pattern of 1 TK 1 TBL purlwise. 1 knit stitch. Finish this row according to this sequence. Everyone, you can see that the second row has now been completed. Next, the method for knitting the remaining part of the hem is relatively simple. On the right side, which is when the starting tail is on the left, Alternate 1K1 TBL stitch. With 1 purl stitch. On the wrong side. Alternate 1K1 TBL purlwise with 1 knit stitch. Concluding the last row on the wrong side. Refer to the previous demonstration. Follow the chart instructions to finish them. Next, I will teach you how to count rows. Have the right side of the piece facing you. You can see here there are columns of twisted braids. One braid represents one row. The lowest braid is formed by the starting stitch. Begin counting upwards from the braid above it. 1, 2, 3. Plus, the loops on the needle also count as one row. So here, that makes 4 rows in total. This is the way to count rows. Up to this point, the hem knitting method has been explained completely. Next, continue knitting the body. On both sides, keep knitting the K1 TBL 1 times 1 ribbing pattern. In the middle, knit the corresponding pattern. During the process of knitting next, you need to increase stitches on both sides. In the middle, knit evenly. At the top, you need to shape the neckline. For the shoulder part, use short rows to create a sloping shoulder. Then hold on the stitches at the shoulders. A variety of stitch techniques are used. They are all marked on the chart. I won't go through each one as an example. Please watch the demonstration. Let's start with row 1. This row is knitted on the right side. First, knit the corresponding number of K1 TBL 1 times 1 ribbing pattern. My sample has fewer stitches. I will only demonstrate the method. After completing it, knit 1 stitch. Then work 1 yarn over stitch. Place the yarn from front to back on the right needle. The yarn over is now complete. Next, simply knit 1 stitch. You can see that there is 1 extra loop here. This is the corresponding loop for the yarn over. Continue with 2 knit stitches. Then work a K2 tog. Also known as K2 tog. Insert the right needle from left to right, passing through both of these loops. And knit 1 stitch. That completes the K2 tog. Take a look at the texture below. The loop on the left should be above the loop on the right. Next, purl 1 stitch. And do 1 K1 TBL stitch. Repeat this twice. Then purl 1 stitch again. Now do a SKP, O. Also known as a SKP, O. Insert the right needle knitwise. Slip the next stitch on the left needle without knitting it. Then knit 1 stitch. Then use the left needle to pick up the unknitted stitch. And slip it over the stitch on the left. That completes 1 SKP, O. You can see that the loop on the right is now above the loop on the left. Next, knit 3 stitches. Then do 1 yarn over. Knit 1 stitch. And do another yarn over. Finally, knit 3 stitches again. Continue with 1 K2 tog. Let's take a look. Consider these stitches as one pattern group. I'll demonstrate another pattern group now. Start with 1 purl stitch. then 1K1 TBL stitch. Repeat that twice. Continue with one more purl stitch. Then do 1 SKP. Oh. Finally, knit 3 stitches. 1 yarn over stitch, 1 knit stitch, and 1 yarn over stitch. Then knit 3 stitches. Next, do 1K2 tog. Another pattern group is completed. Continue following this method, repeating the corresponding pattern groups. Once everything is done, knit 5K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing patterns. Then knit 1 SKP. Oh. Three knit stitches. 1 yarn over stitch and 1 knit stitch. Then work the remaining loops in K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing pattern. Finish this row. The first row is now complete. Next, work on the second row. Turn the work piece. Start with the corresponding number of K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing patterns. According to the chart, next are 6 knit stitches on the wrong side. You need to work 6 purl stitches. Then refer to the chart and knit 5 stitches in K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing pattern. Continue with 11 purl stitches. Then work 5 stitches in K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing pattern. Follow the chart as you go. Repeat purl stitches and K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing pattern stitches. Finish this row. The second row is now done. Move on to the third row. Start with the corresponding number of K1 TBL1 times 1 ribbing pattern stitches. Then work a M1L stitch. You can take a look. Between the two stitches, there is a horizontal strand. Pick up this strand from front to back with the left needle. Then insert the right needle into the loop from behind. Work one knit stitch. After completing it, let's check. A new stitch has been added here. The texture comes out twisted like this. Next, refer to the chart and work the corresponding pattern. Finish this row. Row 3 is now complete. For row 4, work the purl stitches, and the K1 TBL 1x1 ribbing pattern on the wrong side. On row 5, follow the chart to knit on the right side. Everyone can refer to the previous demonstration to finish them. For row 6, you'll need to work M1L stitches on the wrong side. I'll demonstrate the technique using this swatch. First, knit the corresponding number of K1 TBL 1x1 ribbing stitches. My swatch is already completed. Next, the chart requires one M1L stitch. On the wrong side, you need to work the M1L purlwise. Pick up the strand from back to front with the left needle. Then, work it like this as one purl stitch. The M1L purlwise is now done. Let's take a look. On the right side, here is the texture of the M1L stitch. It matches the chart. When you encounter a M1L that needs to be knitted on the wrong side in the future, you can follow this method. For the remaining part of the body, until the shoulder slope and collar position, just work back and forth with the corresponding stitches. During the process, you will also need to knit one bean stitch. Please watch the stitch demonstration. Double crochet bobble stitch. We can call it a bean stitch. First, hang the yarn on your left hand. Then hook the yarn through the loop on the left needle. Insert knitwise into the loop. Draw the yarn through. Pay attention to prevent other loops from slipping off. Chain 3. Then, in this loop, crochet the corresponding number of incomplete double crochets. For a bobble stitch with several stitches, you will work that many incomplete double crochets. For example, the stitch on the left side requires 3 incomplete double crochets. The stitch on the right side requires 4 incomplete double crochets. And so on. Here, I'm working a bobble stitch with 3 double crochets. Start with the first incomplete double crochet, yarn over once. Insert the hook. Pull the yarn through. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's an incomplete double crochet. Ensure it's level with the right side after finishing. Repeat this process too. Work 2 more. Once done, yarn over, pull through all loops at once. Next, there are two ways to handle it. One way is to secure with a chain one. Then, transfer this loop to the right needle. Adjust it slightly, making it pop on the right side. The other method is no chain. Instead, work it on the wrong side. Pick up the thread below, crochet a slip stitch. This thread is actually the one below the hole. Insert the hook. Pull through all loops on your hook. Tighten it slightly. When crocheting, you can choose based on personal habits, or the effect you like best. Finish with a slip stitch to secure. This will make the bobble slightly flatter than if you crocheted a chain, and the bean won't dent. After completing the chain or slip stitch, the bean is done. Similarly, transfer this loop to the right needle. Tighten the yarn slightly. That's it for the double crochet bobble stitch. Moving forward, please refer to the previous demonstration for the rest. Follow the chart to finish them, until you reach the neckline and short rows section. The top of the body requires short row, shaping for the shoulder part sloping on both sides, and decrease stitches at the neckline, to form the neck opening at the back. Finally, hold on the remaining loops for the shoulders. Next, I will explain the shoulder part sloping using a sample swatch, including the short rows technique for the right and left side, as well as the decrease method for the neckline. Everyone, please learn these techniques first, then follow the chart to knit. For the short rows with leaving stitches on the right side, you can see that 6 short rows are required here. The first row is worked on the wrong side. At the ending, leave 5 stitches unworked. I have already finished it. The second row is worked on the right side. First, work a yarn over like this on the right needle. Then work 1 slip stitch. Next, knit 1 by 1 accordingly. Finish this row. After completing it, continue with the third row. At the end of this row, in addition to the first 5 stitches, leave another 4 stitches unworked. Note that the yarn over stitch is not included. After finishing, continue with the fourth row. The method is identical to the second row. Start by yarn over 1 stitch like this. Then work 1 slip stitch. Following the chart, finish the rest of the row as usual. For the 5th row, leave another 4 stitches at the end. Again, the yarn over stitch does not count. The 6th row is also worked in the same way as the 2nd row. I will continue to complete these 2 rows. Now, I have finished the number of short rows required. One last row needs to be worked. To eliminate the row offset, this is commonly referred to as eliminate row offset. First, work into each stitch evenly in purl. Keep going until one stitch before the yarn over stitch. Once done, swap the position of the yarn over stitch with the first stitch on the left side. Then work them together as one purl stitch. Each time you reach the yarn over stitch, swap its position with the first stitch on the left side again. Then combine, and work as one purl stitch. Continue to finish the rest of the row. Now, eliminating rows offset is completed. You can take a look. This is how it looks on the right side. And this is how it looks on the wrong side. The short rows with reserved stitches on the left side. You can see that 6 rows need to be worked here using short rows. For the first row, work on the right side, leaving 5 stitches unworked at the end. I have already finished it. For the second row, work on the wrong side. Start by yarn over a stitch like this on the right needle. Don't make the yarn over stitch too loose, then work one slip stitch. Then, work the purl stitches correspondingly. Finish this row. After completing it, continue with the third row. At the end of this row, in addition to the first 5 stitches, leave another 4 stitches unworked. Pay attention, the yarn over stitch does not count. After finishing, continue with the 4th row. The method is identical to the second row. First, yarn over 1 stitch like this. Then work a slip stitch. Following the chart, finish this row as usual. For the 5th row, leave 4 stitches unworked at the end again. Similarly, the yarn over stitch does not count. The 6th row follows the same method as the second row. I will continue and finish these 2 rows. Now, I have completed the short rows. One last row needs to be worked to eliminate the row offset. This is commonly referred to as eliminate row offset. Start by knitting each stitch accordingly. Keep going until 1 stitch before the yarn over stitch. Once done, combine the yarn over stitch with the first stitch on the left and knit as 1 knit stitch. Every time you reach the position of the yarn over stitch later, you need to combine the picked up stitch with the 1 stitch on the left and knit them as a knit stitch. Continue to finish the rest of the row. Now, the row offset has been eliminated. You can take a look. This is how the right side looks. And this is how the wrong side looks. Sometimes, in order to make the row counts match on both sides, you may need to work 1 more row. Just follow the chart instructions specifically to knit. Let's learn a relatively common method for neckline decreases. It involves using binding off to decrease stitches. This creates the required curve. Suppose this is the front piece neckline. Therefore, this side is the left shoulder, and this side is the right shoulder. Sometimes, you need to work short rows on the shoulders. There are no short rows here. We are only discussing neckline decreases. Let's start with the left shoulder. This chart has fewer stitches. The focus is on explaining the method. First, knit the first row of the neckline. Here, you just knit 13 stitches. If there are more stitches, you can use a stitch marker to separate them. Then continue knitting after marking the stitches. I've already finished the first row. The remaining loops are paused for now. Next, let's work on the second row. The second row is worked on the wrong side. You can see that this row starts with binding off 3 stitches. If there are more consecutive stitches to bind off, we can separate them using a stitch marker first. Start binding off the stitches. Begin with 1 slip stitch. Then work 1 purl stitch. Next, pass the first stitch over the second one. That's how you bind off 1 stitch. Continue with another purl stitch. And bind off 1 more stitch. When there are no special instructions on the wrong side, you simply bind off purlwise. There is 1 stitch remaining to the right of the marker, which is the 3rd stitch loop. We need to bind off this stitch. Therefore, you need to work 1 more stitch and bind it off. The next stitch is the one adjacent to the last bind off stitch key. Here, we just work a purl stitch. Note: since the stitch technique may vary depending on the pattern, refer to the chart for this stitch. After finishing, bind off the 3rd stitch. This way, the 3 stitches in the chart are bound off. Continue following the chart for the rest of the stitches. Pay attention, the next stitch should be worked starting from the 2nd stitch next to the bind off stitch key. Before you start, slightly tighten the yarn loop to avoid any noticeable holes. There's no special pattern here. We will work all stitches as purl. Now, the second row is done. Next, work on the 3rd row, refer to the chart, and knit all stitches. I've already finished it. Continue with the 4th row. Here, just bind off 2 stitches at the beginning. The method is identical to the first row. Start with 1 slip stitch. Then work 1 purl stitch. Bind off 1 stitch. Continue with 1 purl stitch. Bind off 1 stitch. Slightly tighten the loop. Then work all remaining stitches as purl, and finish the 5th row as well. Now, I've completed the 5th row. Continue with the 6th row. At the beginning of this row, bind off only one stitch. The method is identical to binding off the first stitch in the first row. After completing that, work all stitches as purl. For the remaining 7th and 9th rows, knit all stitches. The 8th row is the same as the 6th row. Starting with binding off one stitch, the 10th row does not require any binding off. Just work the purl stitch normally. Now, I've finished these 10 rows. In the end, there should be 6 stitches left. This is marked as hold-on stitches, which means you need to temporarily secure these loops. You can use a waste yarn to hold them temporarily. If there are no special requirements for the yarn tail, leave about 15 centimeters and cut it off. Be mindful to prevent the loops from slipping off. The left shoulder is now finished. Next, start knitting the right shoulder. Before you begin, we need to decrease 9 stitches in the middle first. You can use a stitch marker to separate them. Pick up the new yarn and make a slip knot. Slightly tighten the small loop. Start with 2 knit stitches. Then bind off one stitch. Knit one stitch. Then bind off one stitch. When there are no special instructions, on the right side, you bind off knitwise. Continue to bind off the remaining stitches. Remember, when binding off the last loop, the stitch you knit is the first stitch to the left of the bind off stitch key in the chart. Make sure to refer to the chart for the stitch techniques. Continue knitting stitches while binding off. Once completed, start from the second stitch and finish the row. Next, Purl all stitches on row 2 on the wrong side. Now I've finished the second row. Continue with row 3. Begin by binding off 3 stitches. You can start with 1 slip stitch and 1 knit stitch. Bind off 1 stitch. Continue binding off knitwise. Now, the 3 stitches have been bound off. Continue to finish row 3, and complete row 4 as well. Now I've finished row 4. For row 5, you need to bind off 2 stitches at the beginning. The method of binding off is identical to the first 2 stitches of row 3. For the upcoming rows 7 and 9, the first stitch at the beginning will also be bound off. The bind off method is the same as the first stitch of row 3. I will continue to finish the rest of the right shoulder. Now I have completed the right shoulder. There should be 6 stitches remaining here. Temporarily secure these 6 stitches in place. This way, the method of decreasing stitches for this neckline has been explained. Up to this point, the knitting technique for the back piece has been fully covered.